Gambia participates on a Thursday concluded a high-level stakeholder roundtable discussion on policy and legislative asset recovery governance at the Sadoda Karaba Jora Conference Center in Bijilo. The event marked the culmination of the organization's series of engagements under the Combating Illicit Financial Flows Through Asset Recovery project, supported by the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa. Speaking at the event, Mar Nyang, Executive Director of Gambia Participates, underscored the critical importance of strengthening assets recovery mechanisms and governance frameworks to effectively combat corruption and illicit financial flows in the Gambia.
We have those gray areas in our law. I know we do have the mutual legal assistance, which is progressive, but the question that we also need to answer is, all of these proceeds, once received, where are they going to be expended? What we have experienced during the first term of the government was the proceeds that were received from the disposal of confiscated assets. They were mixed with the consolidated revenue, if I can put it that way, expended, but the citizens, the media, the victims cannot be informed on the impact of those funds. And these are special funds. If a corruption asset, for example, is being forfeited, the perpetrator, we need to identify who the victims are. Now, those victims, if those assets are disposed, the proceeds are realized, they need to feel it. As in, the victims need to feel that. Whether it's going to be construction of roads, whether it's going to be reparation through giving them economic reparations, whether those funds are going to be spent on medical treatment for the victims that needs that medical attention due to their perpetrators inflicting those harm on them, and the list goes on. So this is the platform for us to discuss that.
Lawyer Abdullahi Fati described the timing of the discussion as essential, underscoring the need for strengthening legal mechanisms to combat illicit financial flows.
The topic for discussion today, recovery governance and the legal framework for asset recovery. It is a very timely issue because there was a recent publication surrounding the sale of assets in respect of the Janet Commission. That has sort of provoked a lot of conversation in society. So probably this discussion today will sort of expand on those things and help us to better understand some of these things and what we can do to make these things work better.
The executive director of the Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice, Madi Jobade, called on the Ministry of Justice to provide clear and proactive guidance to the president in steering the country's assets recovery efforts.
I think the entire approach didn't take it probably, sorry, Fatu, but, with the seriousness it deserves at the level of the Ministry of Justice, should have provided the necessary guidance to the president and to the nation, because this is not a new, we are not starting this afresh. This has been done in many places. So that by now it would have been a different story. And I have made this point earlier somewhere to say two very transitional justice institutions we've had should have formed the basis for the transformation of the Gambia to just new Gambia. And that's the TRRC, which was focused on the human rights violations, and then Janet Commission, so that these two institutions are really fundamental. And it is, for me, it is sad that we didn't get the benefit that we should really get out of this, even though the two commissions did a formidable job in terms of documenting the history, giving us a good picture and coming up with good recommendations.
Investigative journalist Mustafa K. Dabo raised concerns over the absence of centralized legal framework or institutional mechanism for registering and managing government assets, including recovered assets, noting this gap undermines transparency and accountability.
One of the issues that we've had when we were looking into the sale or the management or the investigation on the disposal of the assets of the former president particularly, was that there is no, everybody was running helter-skelter somewhere telling us, go and read the AMRC Act. At this time, I think AMRC had already wrapped up. When we began, they didn't, but at some point, AMRC was disbanded, I think, even though I think the law is still there, no? The law is still there. But the institution, I think, has wrapped up. And someone also told us, you need to read the GPPA Act because there is, under the Act of the GPPA, there is a section on disposal of obsolete government assets. But these are just obsolete government assets. And someone also told us that we should have approached the Ministry of Finance because Ministry of Finance should have been the institution responsible by law for all the disposal of government assets. Essentially just to show you that there is no centralized law or government institution that either takes a proper registry of government assets, whether it's government assets or recovered assets. And this is part of the problems, I think. I think that Gambia should have a law on asset recovery, a law on institution, whether it's establishing institution or giving an authority to an existing institution.
The CIFA project aims to raise awareness about illicit financial flows and asset recovery, particularly within local communities. It seeks to empower citizens with knowledge and foster constructive dialogue on corruption and transparency. Through this initiative, Gambia Participates has actively engaged citizens across various communities to promote collective action against illicit financial flows and advocate for recovery of stolen public assets. Reporting for Kerfatu, I am Buba Gajigo.